Hi, I'm Nicholas Lodge and I'd like to introduce you to my Flower Pro multi-leaf veiner. So this multi-leaf veiner can be used for multiple leaves, hence the name. I'm going to be showing you rose leaves, but you can also use this for basically dozens of other leaves. It's a very innovative design in that it actually has a convex and a concave shape. So you can see this is obviously one is divoted in, one is obviously got a domed part. Most double-sided petal veiners or leaf veiners never made to accommodate the wire. We've thought of everything here at Katie Sue Designs, and this has a channel to accommodate the wire. And you can see here the little channel obviously extends so the wire will come out, so you get perfect wire positioning. But it means when you actually press the actual veiner together, you will actually have, there is a little hollow to accommodate the wire. Now when we use the veiner, first of all we're going to take some green paste here, and I'm using here like some Renshaw pre-colored gum paste. So this is the green gum paste here. See, this is the green gum paste for US market, the UK European market. So this is like a moss green color. And we're going to use this straight from the pack. Of course, you can also, Renshaw do have in Europe and the UK a darker green, but you could also add additional color to this as well. But generally for rose leaves, most leaves I make in this standard like a moss green color. I'm going to just condition the paste with a little bit of vegetable shortening or fat and just work this through. And usually when using this, you don't have to add egg white to it. As I talked about in some of my other segments, we can add egg white to give elasticity. So if you are using the paste a lot or it feels a little bit dry, you can literally just take your paintbrush with a little bit of egg white and you can just add a little bit of egg white. Remember, this is a vegan product, but obviously when we add egg white to it, it no longer becomes vegan, but it will give the paste elasticity. So for certain flower making, especially when I'm doing flowers like roses and that, I will often add a little bit of egg white. Because if you have dry hands or you work in a dry environment, then sometimes you might need to just balance that with a little bit of vegetable shortening and the egg white. Also remember that like gum paste or flower modeling paste is a little bit like pie dough, cookie dough, biscuit dough. You know, you roll it out, it's going to toughen a little bit. So adding egg white will help to relax the paste. So I'm going to put a little bit of cornstarch down. I'm going to roll this out. Now generally when I'm doing in my classes for production work, I use a pasta machine. There are many pasta machines. I'm using here the KitchenAid pasta attachment. So the KitchenAid pasta attachment obviously fits on the any of the KitchenAid mixers. There's also the ones that go on other stand mixers. Plus you can also get a hand crank pasta machine, which are very inexpensive. So the advantage of using this for like in sugarcraft or when people do polymer clay, it means that you're going to get a consistent thickness. So I'm going to set the pasta machine here on number 3 thickness. Alright, so on number 3 thickness, I'm going to put this through. So you should put it on about speed number 4, and then I will go through the pasta machine, just feed this through the pasta machine. Now if you don't have a pasta machine, of course this means doesn't mean you can't make leaves, you just need to obviously roll the paste out fairly thin. Now when we're using, for example, the gem cutters, these have a sealed back. So when we use this product, when you press this on the top, and you wiggle the cutter, alright, you see how the paste is stuck in. But we're going to take our little Flower Pro companion tool, the needle part of this, and just going to just flick this out, and this will come out like a breeze. So this will give you obviously your leaves. But if you were doing a leaf, let's say like this is a small hydrangea leaf, this is a lilac bouvardia leaf, of course those you just cut it out and just push the paste through. So we're going to bring in the egg white. We're going to take our wire here, this is 26 gauge wire. Just remember, make sure there's not too much egg white on the end of the wire. Now, as I said, this is one of the options we can use. That is to put it onto the basically folded veiner. And then you're going to then thread the wire into here. And you're going to feel the wire tickle your finger as it goes into the paste. So you see how you're keeping your finger on, you can see how it's actually burrowing into the paste here. And you just want to go in about halfway into the leaf here. All right, I'm going to take this off. So you see how the wire is actually now internally inside there. Just going to just pinch that just gently at the bottom. Okay, just going to just pinch that gently at the bottom. Now we're going to now open up the veiner. So we want to use the side that's got the recesses in. All right, this is basically the back of the leaf. All right, so and you can, if your paste feels a little sticky, you can just put a little bit of cornstarch, corn flour onto it. You're going to lay this in and you're going to position this so it pretty much goes to the top. All right, as you'll see when I show you the small leaf, when you're doing a small leaf like this, it will sit pretty much right at the top of the vena. Okay, so put that sort of almost like to the top part there, like so. So you see this is actually going to accommodate, you see the wire is accommodated in that little sort of trough there. And this is what makes the this Flower Pro multi-leaf vena obviously unique in the way that it's being designed, okay? So you're now going to turn the vena over, okay? And then we're just going to just press with your thumb, all right? So it's going to press over the top and just around the edge here. So when we open it up, so you can see here, this is actually the front of the leaves, all right? So this is the front part of the leaf. And then when we take this out, you can see this is actually the back of the leaf. So it has this beautiful, obviously raised part, which is traditional on a leaf, all right? We're then going to go on to a little small, this is a little mini pad. This is just a flower petal pad. When we soften on the back of the leaf, all right? This is the front of the leaf with the recesses in. This is the back of the leaf with the raised part. So you're going to use a balling tool, or you can use a pin, just basically something that you're going to use to help to soften the edge. Generally when you're doing the bigger the leaf, the bigger the tool you use. This is like a large standard ball tool. When we do a serrated leaf like this, we always go from the serrated from away to the leaf, and you're going to just work this just around the very, very edge of this. All right, so it's going to go around the very, very edge of your leaf like this, all right? And the reason why we don't do that on the front is if we did this on the front, you actually would have raised the vein in on the edge, like almost like a margin. I'm then going to take my little companion tool, all right, and I'm going to just use my little companion tool here, and I'm going to pinch this. All right, so I'm just going to use the shaft part of this. Remember, this has got like a needle on the end, and we have a shaft. I'm just going to pinch this. I'm going to pinch this a little bit like a taco shell, so you just get this slight sort of V shape here on your leaf. And then when you're making larger leaves, a lot of times when I'm doing, for example, leaves like hydrangea leaves or, for example, Bavaria leaves, lilac leaves, I would dry them in a former like this. So this will actually dry them in that sort of characteristic V shape, all right? When we do smaller leaves, as you'll see, I dry these onto a crepe foam former. So this is commonly called crepe foam, and this is also works fine for rose leaves, all right? But it's just sometimes when we do certain leaves, we want a little bit more of that sort of characteristic V shape, all right? So when we do smaller leaves here, these are actually have been cut out with this FMM set, but many companies have obviously just a standard rose leaf cutter set. This is a small, medium, and large. And here you can see the leaves. I've rolled these have been rolled number 4 because they're smaller. I've made the paste a little thinner, so I use number 4 on my pasta machine. And because these leaves are smaller, I also will use a thinner wire. This is a 28 gauge wire. So really I'm showing you the largest leaf. Now I'm going to show you the smallest leaf. So again, I just will take a little bit of here, a little bit of egg white on your wire. Going to thread the wire in. You're going to thread the wire in about halfway into the leaf. All right, and just going to mold that around the very bottom of the leaf, okay? And remember, if your paste feels a little sticky, you can just use just a little cornstarch onto your mold like that. Again, we're going to take the vena. Now, when we do the small leaves, all right, it would be a natural thing to put like it in the middle. But your veining, you always want to put the tip of the leaf pretty much towards the tip of the vena. And you can see how the wire is accommodated in this little trough part here. And then you're just going to just press this. Of course, you only need to press this onto the top here like that. So it's going to give you the vena. And then we take that off, you're going to get your beautiful veining. And again, we're going to then just soften on the back side. Now, because we're doing a smaller leaf, I'm going to use a smaller ball tool. This is the one I used on the large leaf. Here, we're going to use a smaller leaf. So you're just going to just soften around the edge. And you can even use, on smaller leaves like this, you can even use the ball tool end of your flower companion tool as well. That makes very good little softening for the leaves. And then again on the smaller leaves, rather than using the shaft, which is the main part on the Flower Pro companion tool, all right, I'm using actually the fine needle tool end. I'm just going to just pinch that with the needle tool end here, with the needle tool end, and that's going to give me that sort of really a smaller version. Again, just pinch that like a slight taco shape, and then this would go onto your former to dry. Okay, so it's just going to go onto your foam former to dry like this. So this is a really beautiful vena, very, very detailed, and as I said, quite unique in the way it's been designed because there is a little trough there to accommodate the wire. Most leaf venas on the market typically have a negative and positive, so that means when you put a wired petal or a wired leaf into a vena, there's nowhere really to accommodate the wire, and that's why a lot of people have issues with double-sided venas. But we've tried to sort of think through all of the problems that you can have with them and obviously come up with this amazing new vena part of my Pro line range. So now our leaves have dried for 2 or 3 hours, which is what I would recommend. Remember, the amount of time the gum paste or flower modeling paste takes to dry is going to depend on ambient temperature, also humidity. Some of you might live in very humid environments, some live in dry environments. Obviously, some people have air conditioning, some people don't. So generally, as I said, probably 2 to 3 hours is sufficient for rose leaves. Now, rose leaves generally grow in groups of either 3, all right, where you could have 3 small leaves, you could have 3 medium leaves, you could have 3 large leaves, you could have 3 extra large leaves, okay? So you see these are in groups and components of 3, or generally in groups of 5. Now, when you normally have a group of 5 rose leaves, what you're going to do is you're going to have, like, for example, 3 large and 2 medium, 3 medium, 2 small, 3 extra large, 2 large. You know, so basically you have the 3 first leaves will be the biggest, and then it will come down to smaller. We're going to take the half-width floral tape. So with my half-width floral tape, we're going to take what I refer to as the leader leaf. This will be the first leaf that we're going to use. And I'm going to take my floral tape, usually a couple of centimeters, about 1 inch down the wire. So you see there's a little bit of a gap between the end of the wire. And then you're going to go around with your floral tape a couple of times. And you see then what we can actually do is you can slide this up like a tube. So you see how this floral tape goes up and down the wire like a tube. And this means you just push this up to the base of the leaf so we have a perfect start. If you try and start your floral tape there, it's impossible to start without getting like a little extra piece of floral tape. You're going to come down about 1 inch, about 2.5 centimeters down the wire. And then the next leaves are going to be taken with a pair of tweezers. Now I'm using just fine tweezers, all right? So you're just going to hold the end of the leaf with your tweezers, and you're going to bend one to the right, and then we're going to bend one to the left, okay? So you're going to one to the right, one to the left, and you're going to hold these. Now these don't need to be pre-taped, okay? And then what you do here is you're just going to position these on top. So you see they're actually going to sit here onto the stem here. Let's move this out of the way for a second. So you see how they're going to sit like this, and then you're going to just take your floral tape, and again you're going to go around with your floral tape. It's very important also when you use floral tape, you keep tension on this. You can stretch as you go, or obviously just keep tension onto the tape so the paste sticks to itself. And you can see here, this is going to give me, so this would be really like a set of 3 large leaves. And then now I'm going to turn this into a 5 set. So I'm going to add now a medium. So I'm going to add 2 medium. So whatever size you start off with first, you do 3 of those leaves, and then you will then change to 2 smaller leaves coming down, okay? And then you're going to, again, just going to pop those into position here, okay? And then once you've got those into position, you're going to take your floral tape, and now we're going to tape this down. So just going to continue taping down here until this comes down to the bottom of the wire. And then once we get down to the bottom of the wire here, we can just open this up, and this will be your spray of rose leaves, okay? So these are our rose leaves. These are now ready for the next step, which is going to be the coloring. So now we're going to finish off the leaves. Now, when we are coloring rose leaves, we have lots of obviously options here as far as your green. You know, this goes from a lime to an apple to a moss to a foliage to a forest green. So, you know, depending on sort of the color of your roses would depend on what type of color you're going to use on your leaves. You can see here I've got, obviously, this is actually, you will see in my rose video segment for the Flower Pro. This is actually the leaf I've used with the red roses. So here, these were dusted actually with foliage green, which is this darker green. And then actually then around the edge and in the center I have used forest green, which is a much darker, slightly bluey green color. in the leaf that I'm going to use for the pink roses, which will be in the rose segment here, what I've done there is I've used apple green as a base. All right, so I put apple green, which I'm going to now show you, into the center of the leaf, both front and back. And then I'm going to use some foliage around the edge and down the center just to give a sort of pop of darker color. So generally when I'm dusting flowers, I never take color straight from the container. You can put it onto a little dish when you're just doing a small project like this. Normally you're just going to put it onto a paper towel or a napkin. So I'm just going to take a little bit of my apple green color. Okay, so this is an apple green shade here. And you can put gloves on for this as well. But as I said here, you're just going to put the green on. So I'm going to just brush my apple green really in the center of the leaf. And this is why I generally start off with all of my rose leaves and things I make. Most of my leaves I make with that Renshaw green paste, that moss green color. And then you can obviously change the look of the leaf, the color of the leaf, by the color you put on top of it. So you're going to brush the green color. So this is going to be done with the apple green color onto the leaf. You also will do this on the back of the leaf as well. So you can see how it's going to go. I've already got this pretty much on the other parts of the leaf. You can see the beautiful detail on the back of the rose leaf. And then once you've done that on obviously however many sprays of leaves you want, we're going to change out to the accent color. So here I'm going to use foliage green. Alright, so foliage green is a darker green. And you can, if you wanted to, you could obviously take this and put this back into the container and then just so you don't waste any powder. So this is going to be, as you can see, a darker green here. So this is actually the color I used on the red rose leaves for the base color, okay? And so now you're going to take, and I'm using here a flat brush, and I'm just going to just brush from the outside to the inside with this darker green. So it's going to do this around the edge of the leaf. So you see how the color will actually dissipate as it comes from the edge. You know, dusting flowers is very much like makeup. You sort of layer in colors. You have your foundation, which in this case would be like, for example, our apple green. And then you're obviously building up your colors on the top. So we're going to just bring the color around the edge of the leaf. You do this also on the back of the leaf as well, which I've already have done. And then you're going to use the brush this way. You're going to use this to create like almost like a darker stripe. You can see the darker stripe comes down the center of the leaf like this. Alright, and you do this also on the back of the leaf. So just come down the center and around the edge as well. So you're really duplicating whatever you do on the front, you're doing on the back of the leaf, okay? We now move on to an accent color. Now when I make roses, what I do is whatever color I use on the rose, I accent the leaves with the same color. So for example, this is ruby, all right, ruby red, which I'm going to use on my roses, on my red roses. So this would be the color I would use as an accent. If I was doing orange roses, I'd use orange. Now sometimes when we do use dusting powders, let's say you were making a really, really pale pink rose, you might add corn flour or cornstarch to your powder to dilute it. This is, for example, American Beauty, which is a strong pink. But like, for example, sometimes if I was using this color on, say, cherry blossoms, I would add corn flour or cornstarch to make this much paler, because obviously you don't want it as intense. But so in the case, if you are using a paler version on the rose, use the full strength straight out of the pot on the leaf, because if you put the color too pale onto the leaf, you're really not going to see it. So this is going to be my accent color. All right, so in this case, this is going to be the pink that I'm going to use on my roses. So I'm going to take some of the American Beauty pink, but this could be whatever color you use on your rose, like a fuchsia or a peach or an orange. And then I'm going to just use a little bit of this color just at the sort of like the base of the leaf. So it's going to just put just a little accent color just at the very, very bottom of the leaf. So you're going to get this little bit of pink. And what this is going to do is going to give you a very, very subtle sort of undertone of color. It's almost a little bit like a technique we use in oil painting if you were doing a still life. For example, you have a still life oil painting of a bottle of wine and you have, say, a bowl of peaches beside it. You're going to put a little bit of peach into the mirror glaze or the mirror look of the bottle. Same as this, because it's almost like a rose leaf is semi-reflective, so it will almost like reflect the color of the roses. So it's really a way of balancing color, okay? And then I'm going to just here and there, not like all the way around the edge, but just like here and there, I will add just a little tiny bit of pink just onto the edge of the leaf, just randomly placed around the edge like so. So there generally are two ways we can glaze leaves. One technique is to use a spray lacquer. This is the PME spray lacquer. Many companies do spray lacquer like this. This is an edible spray lacquer, and this will be obviously put onto the leaf. It will give a very nice fine coating quickly. All right, and then second option is you could use a leaf glaze. Again, several companies sort of have this, but leaf glaze is basically like diluted confectioner's glaze. Confectioner's glaze, which is a food grade shellac. This is used to add high shine. I use this on my Nicholas Lodge collections from Crady Sue for things like the berries, the purple berries, holly berries, things like that to make them shiny. Leaf glaze is diluted. This is half, obviously half leaf glaze and half alcohol, so it really is a diluted version of it. So both of these will give me a comparable look. All right, one of them is brush on, one of them is spray on. So this would be like if you were doing a craft project and you use acrylic paint and a paintbrush, or you use the can of acrylic paint. So they're both going to give the same look, they're just the application is a little different. A lot of times I would use the spray lacquer because it's just a little bit quicker to use. And again, you want to make sure you do this on a protected surface. You could do this obviously even outside, but you could do it in a box lid. Don't do this directly on top of your table or on top of your sink or things because it is like a shellac. And you're just going to just gently spray this onto the leaf, and just going to spray that onto the leaf like so. And that will be, once this actually evaporates, it looks very shiny at the moment. It almost looks very plasticky, but once the alcohol in this evaporates, you can see it's starting to actually happen now. This will give you a very nice natural look on your leaves, okay? If you were using the brush glaze, the brush on method, that would just be basically brushed on. And this, you just would take your brush and you just would brush this on to the leaf like that. So you just would brush this onto the leaf like this, all right? Now, when we do rose leaves, because rose leaves have just a little bit of an accent color, but on something where you have a little bit more of a contrast, what I would typically do is if you're going to use the brush on method, all right, this is not necessary with the spray because the spray doesn't disturb the dust. But if I was using the brush on method, I would just use like a small clothes steamer, a Sugarcraft steamer, several companies now sell those, or a tea kettle. So when your water boils in your tea kettle, you're just going to just pass this gently through for a couple of seconds. And what the steam does, it actually like sets the powder. So then especially if you were using the brush on glaze, it means when you brush on the top of this, the glaze is not going to disturb the color. Because on a leaf like this where you've got a stronger color, if we just took the leaf glaze now and brushed it over the top without steaming, what would happen is the colors would just all blend together. They would just become this sort of reddy green color. All right, so that's really where that works very well. But again, you can see just gently spray onto here. And this really, so you can see how the beautiful detail of the leaf will pick up, all right? But you can see how this one has dried. You see, so obviously it's not going to stay shiny like that because this would look obviously too artificial. This has been obviously showing you how to use the multi-leaf veiner. And I hope you will have a lot of fun with using this product. As I said, it's very innovative. So don't think of this just for making rose leaves. You pretty much this can be your go-to veiner for most leaves you're going to make. And as I said, it's suitable for dozens and dozens of types of leaves.